Good evening, everybody. Welcome back to PSGL. George Morgan here, your commentator, alongside me, TK, who is going to be rounding off the season with me.
Down the inside,
absolutely possible season.
This is for the win between these two.
I'm on the edge of my seat.
He needs to get it done now.
Blakey will dive to the inside.
We'll go bust. We got our elbows out.
Ronard takes the lead.
Because here comes Alfie Butcher.
Can't really complain with that one.
It's not going to be easy. The pressure is on, of course.
Yana Watmere is your champion.
Well, good evening, everybody, and welcome back to Premier Sim Gaming Leagues in 2026. Yes, a very cold start to 2026, I have to say. Logan, you can see there in a t-shirt. I'm in a woolly jumper, so maybe that just signifies the differences in where we are based in the UK, but we are well and truly back. I think you are all very, very excited. We're here for a 4-race bonanza to round out Season 41 of the top tier of the PlayStation side of PSGL. PlayStation PSF1, and we are well and truly back for the Mexican Grand Prix this evening. Should be an absolute crackerjack. We've had some interesting races the last couple of weeks in the middle of December, to be fair. We are looking forward to getting cracking back into this championship tussle, which could be decided fairly shortly. We've had some big swings in the last few weeks. Volakongan taking a march towards the top of the standings, I should say. We are very, very close to crowning potentially himself the champion of Season 41. Still a lot to play for there in the final 4 races. And we need to get into the virtual commentary box because myself, Tom Wilkinson, joined alongside me once again, Ataku Logan. Logan, how was your Christmas and New Year, first of all?
Leave me alone, I'm playing Mario Kart 64.
Oh, he's
stop
still got the
playing
Christmas
Michelle.
games.
Yeah, you can tell I'm into my Nintendo 64. Hello! It is great to be back after a few weeks. I'm still recovering from a flu, though. That flu is a horrendous... But it is great to be back here on Premier Sim Gaming Leagues. We should be having 17 tonight, as my list might be less, but we're just flipping around right now. We've got 10 minutes to start approx, and we are here at the Autódromo Hermanos Rodriguez in Mexico City, or Ciudad Mexico. A track that has an old baseball track and a new baseball stadium in its confines. Of course, the old one is now the Foro Sol. It was actually host to a Taylor Swift concert once. And the other, of course, is the other side of the track, which is not used, is the other baseball stadium, which is currently used by... I forgot what the baseball team is. But whoever they are, they play in Mexican baseball, Major League Mexican baseball, whatever that be. As you can tell, I haven't been doing my notes. This track has been host to the Mexico Grand Prix since its return in 2015 and was upgraded for said event. And it will be our round 8, I believe. Yes, round 8 of the Premier Sim Gaming League season. The Premier class on PlayStation. That means we've got, after this, 3 more races. So we're into the final frontiers of this season 41, which will end with Jeddah, Brazil, and Abu Dhabi coming in the next few weeks. But it is Mexico for tonight. Of course, the PC had their turn back last year. We had to go forward in time.
Yes, we had to be delayed until 2026. We couldn't quite slip in round number 8 before we broke off for Christmas and New Year. But just so we can touch base, because it has been a little while, it's been a whole month nearly, since we were last in PSGL PSF1 action. Let's have a look at how the standings shape up. And you will see a Lone Ranger out at the top. That is Alex Loaf, who only competed in the first 4 rounds of the season, picked up 3 wins and a second, but then departed, bid farewell to join over on the PC side. So that means that Volakongan is now our net championship leader, still 8 points behind Alex Loaf, but let's be honest, with 4 rounds to go, the Mercedes driver and last season's runner-up in PSGL PSF1, let's not forget, should be taking over from Alex Loaf. But it was Tony Richet, the man in second place technically overall, that was the victor 3 weeks ago at the British Grand Prix in Silverstone, and they have put a little bit of distance, those two, between themselves and and the group behind that are jostling very, very hard for position. Mats von der Geest, retirement a couple of weeks ago. Ivan Escrew with a P4, but Otsazito with a retirement as well. Not really bouncing after a brilliant victory in Spain the week before. Dirk won in Monaco, hasn't scored points since, not a particularly good run. Inconsistencies for the likes of Nico and for Phil and Salo. You can see they're the other race winner this season, but a disqualification in Spain and receiving a ban for the rest of the campaign. Logan, if we just have a look at the top of the standings, 12 points separating Volokongen and Tony Roche. Last season's runner-up Volokongen started the season fairly slowly, just the best finish of 4th in the opening 3 rounds, but since then not been outside the top 5 and 3 podiums in there.
Yes, as you can see, if we exclude Alex Lofer, who is out, we've had 4 different winners in the last 4 races, so it is anyone's for the taking. I could see Alex Lofer being exceeded by Volokongen tonight if he finishes above 4th place. Tony Roche needs a big haul of points over Volokongen if he's to close up the gap. Van der Geest there in 4th as well, net 3rd, and even Eskrieg on 32 as well. Still 4 rounds, 64 points, 68 points, I beg your pardon, available for this. And that mathematically means someone from 0 could still win the championship. But the chances are extremely unlikely. As we can see with Alex Lofer, who is close to that, 63, has not taken part in any of the other races. So we'll see what happens tonight. Of course, some of the drivers that are not, excuse me, the flu again, are not partaking tonight are. Sorry,
Oh
even
dear, that is riddling you.
I know. Ivan Esgrieg, Fraser, Yasser Saki, and Lars Kramer are not here. Holidays and exams. Staying still, kids. Simon Mara's not here. Surface will not be here. Gavrok, Josh, Mateus, and Jordan are not going to be here. If we can just double check. Simone Mara should not be here. Surface should not be here then. So I do believe we should actually be on 14. Because, of course, because they've actually not changed their allegiance.
No.
So
14 or 15 though, yeah, that's the number we should be expecting. Maybe not surprising considering it is the first race of 2026. We are in this winter period in January. Still, people could still very much be on their holidays and the exam period for people that are still in school, etc. You saw the calendar early on at the top of the standings. We do also need to shout out the title sponsor here over at PSGL. If you want to try and extract those extra tenths of a second, I've completely messed that one up, but we're going to go on like nothing's happened. Head over, linked in the description, to Sim Racing Setups, everybody. The best in the business. The pro setups unlocking the extra performance on F125 with their pro car setups, and they're created and developed by the drives you see competing week in, week out here at Premier Sim Gaming Leagues. They've got esports and stable setups for every single track on the game, qualifying and race setups, dry and wet weather with optimal race strategies thrown in there as well, and free meta setup updates when we do get the game updates that can just tweak the handling model ever so slightly. Compatible with all platforms as you would expect, and all of them available for £49.99 when you consider 27 circuits on this year's game. $49.99 divided by 27, pretty darn decent value. simracingsetup.com, that is linked in the description of this live stream, and if you use the code PSGL at checkout, that will give you a lovely, delightful 5% discount on your purchase. Absolutely lovely stuff there. From the setups to the track itself, before we head into our 18-minute qualifying session, let's have a look at what the drivers will be tackling. One of the longest straights in Formula 1, isn't it? On the run out of the Perotada into turn number 1, foot flat to the floor for 20 seconds approximately from out of 17 into turn 1. A couple of switchback chicanes definitely at the start of the lap, and then the flowing technical middle sector where you've got to have so much commitment through the high-speed corners is a real balancing act as well with your setup. You don't want too high downforce because you are going to be an absolute boat in a straight line, but the trade-off is this is a low grip circuit, so if you take all the wing off, you're running low downforce in particular, you are going to be struggling in the first and middle sectors, and you'll be cooking the tyres as well. So Logan, the drivers in particular tonight, they have to be very, very precise with what direction they go setup wise.
Yeah, of course. With that long straight being a massive advantage for those running low downforce, we should be seeing a lot of overtakes from the low downforce folk. Of course, though, it doesn't hurt to have a little bit of downforce in the corners, because if you do, then you could get the upper hand when it comes to defending these overtakes.
100%. And I think we should see some really nice battles. Yes, it's going to be hard to follow in that middle sector, in particular the run out of the double right-hander, even though it's known as just one corner of turn number 6 through 7. The sweeps of 7, 8, 9, 10 and 11. If you can stay as close as you possibly can to the car in front, you may get an opportunity to dive down the inside into 12. But then it's the tight and twisty stadium section as well of 13 and 14 and then 15 technically, although it's not really a corner. Got to be careful of track limits there. You can get a couple of double warnings. I think that's still in the game. On the exit of 15, there is a double warning possibility, so you don't want to start racking those up and leaving the stewards with a little bit more work to do in the post-race debriefs. And then through 17, the Perotada. It's a bit of a tricky traction zone, especially when those rear tyres are starting to let go. Tyre temperature is another thing, especially in the middle sector. You're going to have to be careful of them, because if you're a little bit too aggressive, slightly too punchy, they will begin to skyrocket, won't they, Logan?
Yeah, they will, of course. If they do get too punchy, then I think you're going to need a tyre change imminently. We are getting readying up, just to let you know. We have 25 seconds until we get into the lobby, so let's have fun, everyone. It's going to be a fun night. As we see, we've got a whole range of folk, I tell you, from every country in the world. We've got Luxembourg, the Netherlands. I don't think that's actually the Netherlands. I think they've got the flag wrong. France, Poland, Finland, Norway, Italy. Is that Senegal, I see?
Oh, I do fancy
Belgium,
myself as a bit of a
Germany.
flag buff, to be fair, so that could be a fun little game to play, maybe while we're waiting between qualifying and the race.
Yeah, that'd be a great category to have on the floor from last night's on ITV. Tonight it's Only Connect on BBC. Anyway, enough about game shows. Here's the real game show. PSGL.
Game shows? From game shows to video games. That's the true
there
answer,
wasn't-
isn't it?
Yeah, there was an event in Japan every year called Tokyo Game Show, which is about video games, which is a completely different game show. And loading the lobby very quickly, and except if you're Polymassy, sorry.
Yeah, I think it is 14, the numbers. We are indeed waiting for Polymaki to jump into this one, 14 or 15. We'll get a live reaction, won't we? Because we'll see the timing tower on the left-hand side of screen. Hopefully you're right and it is 15, because the more the merrier, it has to be said. And yes, it is 15 drivers, we are delighted to say. Weather set fair as well. A little bit of cloud cover, you can see that over to the left-hand side, over the pit lane, but lovely blue skies as well onto the start-finish straight. If you're new to PSGL, PSF1, remember, 18-minute qualifying session where we head into a 50% race. That will be 36 laps of the Autodromo Hermanos Rodriguez circuit.
Sorry.
Did I catch you slightly unawares there, Logan? Finally jumping in, though.
Right.
I wonder who is it? I think it's the Aston Martin of Zwade, or it might be Phil, actually, who's first out on the circuit.
Phil.
It is indeed Phil in the green machine, first out on track. Realistically, we're going to be looking at 3 runs in this qualifying session, but as we say so many times, will sound like a broken record. You want to keep a set of the soft compound tyres in your back pocket if you need them with a late race safety car. We haven't had too many visits from Bernd Mailander so far this season. I think he's only been called to the circuit once or twice in the 8 rounds that we have had so far, including this one in Mexico. So might be a bit of a surprise if we see Bernd Mailander out there. But yes, 18 minutes on the clock, and the drivers will be looking to try get up to 100% as quickly as they possibly can.
When was the last time you had a safety car? I can't remember.
I think we might have had one in Spain. We definitely had a couple of virtuals, and then in round number 1, I think we saw a visit from the safety car as well.
Yeah. Just to let you know, speaking of broken records, you could use the real wins as broken records and put it on a vinyl recording player.
Interesting.
I
Interesting
mean,
stuff.
you could just make it. You can make your own vinyl records, though. Ah, piracy.
Let's not encourage that one. That might not be the smartest thing to do. We will jump on board with Phil, though, in that beautiful Aston Martin car. Of course, going to be powered by Honda engines in 2026. No more connection between the Silverstone-based squadron and the Mercedes power unit stretching back, of course, to 2009 when it was Force India. But this long, long run, endless run it might feel like, down into the heavy braking zone of turn number 1. Got to be so precise through the opening chicane because those sausage curves on the inside can be quite punishing. Got to be very, very careful. Thread the needle, attack through turn 1, and get the car all the way over to the right. So you shape up the chicane through 2 and 3. Very easy to exceed track limits on the exit. Bit of a wobble over the sausage curve as well through turn 3. Car in the way, but not going to disturb Phil's progress too much as we barrel up again into turn number 4. Similar sequence of corners, actually. Again, riding the sausage curve with the apex of 4, nicely through 5, and then you can be really aggressive on the loud pedal into 6. Hang it in there as best you possibly can and just hope that the front end of the car bites and sticks and responds to the inputs that you desire. Into 7 now, lovely sequence of corners this, especially in qualifying. Car really feels like it's dancing, balancing on the knife edge of performance from victory and, of course, disaster if you pitch it into the awaiting Pirelli barriers on the left and the right-hand side. Braking on the curve down into turn number 12. Bit of a wobble again. Not quite the precision that's required there from Phil over the sausage curve, and deep into the stadium section. Unlucky turn 13 for himself, and a little bit messy this final sector from the Aston Martin. The rear's trying to step out as well through turn 16 and now pulling gears up to the line. The benchmark for Phil is a 1:14.7. You'd think that's going to be eclipsed, and yes, by, well, 0.8 of a second. Tony Richet smashes Phil's time out of the park straight into the 1:13s with man second in the championship race.
Yeah, it looked like Phil was fighting that car like 11 from Stranger Things would. Anyway, enough Season 5 finale spoilers. Phil really was wrestling that car. I'm not sure if there was any like oversteer or anything, but it did look like a timid lap. Tony Richet well clear up there, about 0.8 clear, I'd have to say. And Finley's lap obviously doesn't really count for much, so we'll just pass him. A lot of drivers invalidating as well at Pox. Lawrence goes second with a 1:14.3. Looking further down, I think the Swede, Phil's teammate, is coming through as well, but I don't think... Yeah, he's pulling into the pits. He's invalidated.
Yeah, a lot of mistakes early on, actually, because Finlay, with not a representative time on the board, couple of invalidations, very easy to do if you're just a little bit lazy, maybe just a little bit over-ambitious as well. Dylan Hogland up into second. What can the second Ferrari do? Well, Ottosito up into P3. So Ferrari, Red Bull, Ferrari, Williams, Red Bull, the top 5 as things stand. The championship leader, Volokongan, yet to emerge out on circuit. We've got Dirk, who was the winner in Monaco back in November, hasn't finished inside the points paying position since though, which hasn't been a particularly nice run of form. Snacks into a 14.0 up onto the front row in second position, still half a tenth shy of Tony Richet. Can Dirk get up there as well? It's a decent time of 1:14.1. Pops himself nicely inside the top 5. We now look back to the Mercedes of Finlay, rounding the final couple of corners through the Peril Tard. A little bit of a wobble coming out of 16, foot flat to the floor out of it, and another member of the 1:14.1 club joining Ottosito and Dirk. Leon is out there in the Sauber, also setting some fairly decent sector times, it has to be said. Slightly wider coming through 17 as he cuts the beam. Will it be a 13? No, another 1:14.1.
Yeah, and Lawrence has whacked the ball out of it. Pit entry, naughty.
Ooh.
So, we see Ottosito, who is currently in 4th, has the Monza special livery. I know that's the Monza special livery because I was at Monza this year, or last year, but you know what I mean. His teammate, I think, is running the proper livery. Both Red Bull drivers are using the White Bull livery, therefore they will refer to White Bulls. Sorry, not sorry. We've got one vanilla V-carb and the pink V-carb. Very manly colour there. That is, of course, I think that's the Miami livery.
Yes. There's a lovely livery, it has to be said as well. I'm a big fan of it. Mats van der Geest, according to the game, is fastest in the middle sector, leaving absolutely no time on the table through turn 12. They're using all of the available track space up to the white line on the curb. Rounding the final couple of corners we come. Is this going to be challenging Tony Richet, the provisional pole sitter? No, only 10th fastest for Max van der Geest. Needs to try and make an impression in the championship race, falling away from Volokogan and the provisional pole sitter Tony Richet. And the second slowest time, putting him only P10, albeit less than 0.4 of a second down on the pole time. And that is going to be a real kick in the teeth, isn't it? If you're not that far away from the pole time, but we're expecting, as it normally is here in PSGL, PSF1, these quali lap times be so congested.
Indeedy. So 4 drivers yet to set a time, Polly Mackie, Lepots, Volkongen and Suede, which should be getting on the board soon. There is 11 minutes left, just less than that, but should be getting on the time imminently. Volkongen starting a lap, going over the bounds that are the curbs, of course. Pretty bouncy, and you will be punished if you just go in too deep. Looks like Volkongen has taken that initiative and missed them completely, so not getting into much trouble here. Pretty flat, these curbs around this area, so you do want to be careful you don't overshoot. And then through the S's, again, somewhat flat, so if you overshoot it, you're probably not going to feel it. Now towards the 4 or so we go. I believe the venue in front of the driver on the onboard of Volkongen, I believe that venue was used for the Olympics, correct me if I'm wrong. This was of course a baseball venue, not anymore, it's just a concert venue, and of course the final part of the track to the final corner goes right into the inside, and Volkongen will go third, 1 thousandth ahead of Dylan Hogland.
Yeah, decent lap time there. Had a big whack of oversteer also coming through the Perotada, so maybe a little bit more time on the table for the championship leader. Polymaki up into 8th, the other House of Lepox into 10th. 1:14.1 and 1:14.2 for the pair of them respectively. Everybody else out on their second flying laps in this qualifying session. The beautiful Golf livery Williams, Nico in P11 as things stand. Lawrence, like you said, in the Japanese special Red Bull Honda livery. Mats von der Geest in the pits. Here's Phil coming through the stadium section, only finding 17 milliseconds. Needs to extract a little bit more performance out of that Aston Martin. Cutting the beam. Is it improvement? It is by 0.3, but stays as the slowest time. Down in 14th on a 14.3. We turn our attention back to Nico, who was bailed on his lap. Brilliant time to jump back on board. So we'll transfer to the driver that's just 1 place behind in the timing tower. It is Lawrence in that Red Bull car. The pair of them 11th and 12th, separated by just 0.02 of a second after the first runs. Is Lawrence finding the time? Yes, 0.2 found. That'll give him a decent chunk of positions if he can continue to find time in this final sector. Really aggressive over the curbs into turn number 12, and a decent run as well. Good rotation through the stadium sector of 13, 14 and 15. Just got to keep it pinned on the exit of 16 through the Perotada. Now all the way over to the right-hand side. Lear with a 5-place grid penalty. Lawrence to the top of the timing charts. Takes it away from Tony Richet. That's a 1:13.9. Brilliant lap time. Brilliant first, second and third sector from the Red Bull. And that is a gauntlet very much laid down to the big established runners. As Logan's got missing in action, so we'll continue onwards. Dylan Hogland just started his second lap in P5 on that 1:14 flat. Finlay starting a lap time as well. Tony Richet's just kicked things off. The 2 Aston Martins bringing up the rears. Wade, first valid attempt in this session, only good enough for 14th. So it's the Green Machine cars battling over the wooden spoon as things stand. Tony Richet, though, Logan, has been pipped to the post as things stand 50% of the way through the session. But what is his riposte going to be on his second attempt?
Yeah, well, we'll have to see about that. Of course, we've got about 7 minutes. I should go and mention Leon has been given a 5-place grid penalty for illegal walking. I hope we're not going to have to go through the motions of starting again the entire lobby, because that's what used to be the case if you get a penalty. Or did he actually illegally block?
I didn't catch it, to be fair. I think he may have just been the game doing a bit of a funny on pit lane entry. Tony Richet really ragging that Ferrari through the middle sector. Was a bit wild through turn number 7, but is up by over 1/10 of a second, and barring any major dramas, there is one of them through turn 12. Really cranked on the steering lock to try and get the car rotated, but understeer at the front means that it pushed him over the track limits, and that lap time is going to be invalidated. We'll see what it is anyway. Should be the fastest time, even though it's not going to count. Yeah, 1:13.8 for Tony Richet, so he's definitely got some time left in his back pocket. Finlay in the second Mercedes, now the lead Mercedes on a 14 flat, jumps up ahead of his teammate and championship leader Volkongen, who's ahead of Dylan Hogland by just 1,000th of a second, and the second Red Bull has clearly made a mistake. There goes Ferrari, the flash of Scarlet back to the top. Ottozito taking over from Lawrence, and Tony Richet wants the provisional pole sitter, now bumped down to P3, almost P4 as Dirk slots into 4th on a 14 flat, but Snacks in the McLaren is absolutely flying. As we say that, he goes wide through turn 12, but the game doesn't invalidate it. Got to keep pushing on here. He's been given a second life on this second flying lap of the session. P5 at the moment should be smashing the benchmark without the mistake. How much is it going to cost him running wide through 12? We cut the beam. Does go fastest still. Lost a tenth of a second to his personal best in Sector 3. But it is a 13.7. That is by quite a distance the fastest time we've seen so far.
Yeah, I'm surprised they kept it valid, but that's down to the game, I believe. I have noticed there's a few drivers going wide off that corner, getting away with invalidations there. So yeah, we are going to have to get a restart because not when the session. When the session's over, obviously, we can continue the session as is in qualifying, but for the race we will have to start again.
We'll need a little bit of filler from the two of us to separate that. Volokong a little bit messy through turn 2. Jumped over the sausage curb. So we'll see what the championship leader can manage. I think that is Dylan Hogler with an improvement up into second place. Volokong finding 600ths through the first sector. McLaren, Red Bull, Ferrari, the top 5 as things stand. All of them inside or under the 74 second barrier. And the championship leader, last season's runner, will be looking to join them, although he has backed off on that one. Made a mistake, I think, through turn 6. Meaning that second attempt is going to be thrown in the bin. Definitely going to be returning to the pit lane with less than 5 minutes to go. Polymachi, the other driver that's slightly out of sync in the Haas, on their second attempt in the session. The two Haas cars 10th and 11th at the moment on a 14.1 and 14.2 respectively. Well, Okong needs to be careful because I think the Haas of Polymachi may just catch him in the final sector. Finding 0.2 of a second, this could be a very decent improvement for Polymachi as well. Couple of drivers making mistakes through turn 12. Neat and tidy for the Haas driver currently holding 10th, but slightly wide the car, not responding through turn 13 and then invalidates on the exit through 15. And that is another driver making a mistake at a crucial point of the lap.
Yeah, you don't want to be doing that late in the event. So the time to beat 1:13.755. Dylan is the one on track right now. I do believe he's coming in after this. Yeah, so we've got no one on track right now, which is pretty fun.
We always have fun. We always have fun. A little bit of a down moment as everybody returns to the pits. Would have been interesting to see what Volokongan could have done. He was up by 600, so you would imagine he'd find a little bit more in the second sector specifically, but the championship leader just with a little bit of weight on his shoulders, pressure on his shoulders, heading into this final run. His main championship rival holding P5. Ossazito returned to form in third. Dylan Hognans and Snacks currently occupying the front row. And for Volokong currently sat behind his teammate and CSI stablemate Finlay. And first of all, first port of call, be getting ahead of him, along with Dirk as well. And it is Finlay that emerges from pit road first and will be the first to tackle this Mexican Grand Prix circuit for the final time in qualifying.
So, the final frontier of this qualifying session is about to get underway. 3 minutes left. Should be seeing top drivers coming out. I believe they're all coming out. Finlay and Nico, of course, well out of the blocks, getting ready for their final laps. Lawrence and Tony Richet and the other Mercedes of all Conken. Nico, by the way, using the special Gulf livery for this event.
Beautiful car.
I think they should keep that permanently, in my opinion.
Definitely. It's the beautiful livery. Although, and I had this conversation with somebody yesterday, I still don't think it tops the McLaren 2021 Monaco Gulf livery.
Oh. That was McLaren, so...
Still the same. It's still the Gulf livery, though. I think McLaren did it slightly better. Finlay up to the stadium section. Will be the first to tackle this circuit for the final time in qualifying. Needs to find improvement. Get himself into the 13s to really challenge for a top 3 spot on the grid, Logan.
Yeah, absolutely. So here we go. It is Finlay going to get started on his final lap here. Trying to get up the order and onto pole position. Snat's time of 1:13.755 to beat. Seems like a long way away, but believe me, anything can happen on this track if you put your mind to it. To the first corner as we go. Grinds the outer edge of the curb and goes into the curbs. Gets a bit of bounce in the middle. Nicely done out of the corners. Now towards turn 4 we go, and then 5, of course, the instant chicane. It's again hitting the bumps. Oh, Getting a bit of vibration into those tyres at the front. Looks very clean on the next segment though. Now for the S's. Oh, he went right inside there. Not got a lot of momentum for the others. And he's backed off. He's going to go once again though. He's got a minute to start his lap. That should be more than enough.
Big pressure on him now, though, to try and find that improvement when the tyres aren't at their best. Tony Richey finds an improvement in the first sector, but only by 1/4 of a tenth. So needs to try and extract a little bit more in the second and third sector. Lawrence is just in front of him on the road, so the drivers 4th and 5th are going to be cutting the beam at roughly the same time, so we'll see if they can make a late charge towards Snacks at the top of the timing charts. Lawrence has looked hooked up, but he's down by 1/10 of a second through sectors 1 and 2. Needs the mother of all final sectors here. Really aggressive through turn 12, carrying as much speed as he dared. 20 seconds left to go before the checkered flag will be flying. Rounding the final couple of corners. Can we see an improvement for Lawrence? Bit of a wobble coming out of it, and he's returned to the pits, and he slams into the barrier on the inside. Tony Richey does find an improvement to the top of the timing charts. Goes the Ferrari second in the championship, first in qualifying as we wait for the seconds to tick down. Snacks is down by 2/10 through the first sector. Big problems for the Papaya and Chrome McLaren, and down by a second. He is out of the running. Snacks is not going to take back provisional pole. Dylan Hoglan was down by, I think, 19 milliseconds. Volokongan done as well. Championship leader is only 6th. Make that 7th as Polly Mackey bangs in a 13.7 to jump up into P3. Dylan Hogland finding 0.08 of a second through the first couple of sectors. Needs to find a little bit more, extract even more performance. Snacks is done in P2 on the 13.7. Opportunity for somebody to take a front row spot, but Dylan Hogland, big drift coming out of turn 14 and 15. Leon up into P5 for Sauber, pushes Ottosito down a further spot. Dylan Hogland stays P4, found 0.5 tenth but couldn't get back onto the front row. Ottosito, the second Ferrari, isn't improving either, stays P6. We wait for Finlay's second attempt, but he is invalidated. Nico invalidating as well. Mats van der Geest to 12th. The two Aston Martins bringing up the rear, but Tony Richey pulling a lap out of the bag when he desperately needed it.
Yeah, and he's got the pole position there. Snatskin second, Polly Mackey in third, Hogland in fourth, and Leon in fifth. Your top 5, and that will do it for the qualifying session. Tony Richey gets an extra point on the board for his championship tally, and that will be a lot of help for him in the long run. Ignore that 5th-place penalty. That will be rectified. We're going to have a redo here. So we're going to have to cut away now, and we might be 10 minutes on this, so do apologise for this, folks.
Might take a little bit of time, but Tony Richey, like you said, big performance for the championship there. 12 points behind Volokongan. Needs to try and sharpen up that, and with first down to 8th separating them, big performance. Snacks on the front row. Brilliant late lap from Polly Mackey to take third ahead of Dylan Hoglan. Leon will be P5 despite the penalty. Ottosito, Lawrence and Volokongan, Dirk and Finlay your top 10. Lepok's just outside of it. Mats van der Geest, Nico, and then the two Aston Martins battling for the wooden spoons. Wade getting the better of Phil by just 0.12 of a second. And like you said, we are going to have a little bit of downtime here. I think we should be able to watch the fun going on with this faux start that, remember, we used to have back on F1 24. If you were watching PSGL back then, we used to have a lobby restart between qualifying and the race because collisions traditionally were off in qualifying, so we wouldn't have any collisions, but also the effects of slipstream could be mitigated, so it's not too unheard of to have this little bit of an interlude. What it does mean, Logan, and this is crucial as well, drivers will get their soft compound tyres. Whether they use 2 or 3 sets, all of them will be returned to them for the race. And that could be an interesting little strategic card that somebody wants to gamble on.
Yeah. So we are going to get a restart. So we do have the race starting about on the screen right now, but I don't think it's going to count for anything. So I do apologise about that.
We are going to get going, though. Let's watch the fun start, though, because this is going to be the Mario Kart edition of PSGL PSF1. Here, the race to see who can get disqualified and who can retire the fastest. Brilliant start for Polly Mackey there, who takes the lead as the Ferraris fall backwards. Carbon fibre flying absolutely everywhere. I think Phil's going to be last man standing. Both Aston Martins still running. Lepok's still going as well. No, it will be the two Aston Martins that win the race to be the last disqualified. Wade effectively is the winner of the Mexican Grand Prix. I don't think it's going to be quite that dramatic, the run down to turn number 1, although stranger things have happened, especially in the Stranger Things franchise.
I think this needs to be summed up in one sound.
Damn, that is a pretty good summary of what we've just seen there.
I mean, surely that's public domain, right?
The open lobby
Price is Right
version.
losing things.
The open lobby version of this. And the two Aston Martins that qualified 14th and 15th are the winner of the faux start that we have just seen. First to get themselves disqualified or retired was down in P15. It is Leon, who of course we're having this restart for to get that grid penalty, that a slightly harsh grid penalty removed. So we'll return to just our two faces rather than our faces and the game. But Logan, that qualifying session, we can't understate how important that pole position lap for Tony O'Shea is in the context of this championship charge.
Yeah, indeed. It's going to be quite an interesting night for the title race, of course, because if we can get the standings up again, that'd be nice. If Tony O'Shea gets a great result tonight, he may jump ahead of Volakongan, but that's all down to what's going to happen in these next 36 laps. I don't know why I said 40 there.
40-ish minutes, although it might be closer to the 50 mark. We can just bring the standings up once more so we can have a little gander at what is going on. Ignore Alex Loafer. He left after the first 4 rounds. A brilliant first 4 rounds, though, it had to be said. 3 wins to kick off the season with a second following it in Monaco. 12 points the gap separating Volakongan in first and Tony O'Shea in second. Tony O'Shea, the winner of the last race at the British Grand Prix in Silverstone. But before that, didn't start in Monaco. 11th, no points in Austria. Got embroiled in a couple of collisions. And 18th in Spain after some penalties post-race. Kicked him out of one of the lower points-paying positions. Returned to form nicely with that win in Silverstone, beating Volakongan. They are realistically the two main protagonists, you would say. Mats van der Geest have been fairly consistent, but a DNF last time out, not starting particularly high up the grid here in Mexico. That could prove crucial for his faltering championship charge.
Absolutely. So we are almost getting set for the final stages of preparing for this race. Of course, 36 laps, and it should be quite an exciting night. If you can just give me a second, please. Sorry.
I will give you a second, please. Sorry. Welcome in, everybody. If you did miss qualifying, it is going to be Tony O'Shea starting from pole position, with Volakongan, the championship leader, down in P8 with a little bit of time that he needs to make up. Welcome in, though, everybody that is here. Thank you for joining us for some more Monday evening madness here at Premier Sim Gaming League's PSGL PSF1. Hopefully you had a lovely Christmas and New Year period. If you don't celebrate Christmas, hopefully you spent some lovely and well-earned time off with your families. We can get back into the action here with some beautiful sim racing action. 36 laps awaiting us at the Autodromo Hermanos Rodriguez circuit for Mexico City. Another one where we could potentially see a marginal 1/2 stop race. We've seen it in the past couple of weeks, definitely at Austria a few weeks ago, back in December. I say a few weeks ago, it was nearly a month ago, and in a completely different year, we did have that 2-stop race that did just spice up the strategy game a little bit more. It'll be interesting to see if anybody has sacrificed stability to go for the low wings, give himself a great shot at trying to pick up some places in the main race. Of course, the very, very long straight coming out of the Pelotada down to the braking zone of turn number 1. Got to get the setup absolutely bang on. And while we do wait as well, if you watching at home want to try and better yourself on F125, well, the lovely people over at Sim Racing Setups have absolutely got you guys covered. If you head over there, you can unlock those extra tenths, maybe even seconds worth of performance with the Pro F125 car setups created and developed by the drivers you see week in, week out competing here at PSGL. Esports and stable setups available for every single circuit, whether it's qualifying or the race, whether the weather is dry or wet. They've absolutely got everything that you could desire. Optimal race strategies thrown in there as well.
So I had to do some personal business, work related. So I do apologise for that. I am back now, and we are just in time, ready to go.
100%. Look at this. On the grid. Remember, soft compound tyres handed back to all of the drivers. So maybe somebody wants to roll the dice and start on the red stripe rather, even though it's not a particularly good race tyre. And neither are the mediums either. The hard tyre definitely going to be the favoured compound around the circuit. And traditionally, the hard tyre is very much the best compound on the F125 game. It was realistically the same on F124 as well. Long run down into turn 1. We saw it in the real-life Mexican Grand Prix. 4 wide between the 2 Ferraris, Lando Norris and Max Verstappen. And it was the 4-time champ that went cascading over the curb and over the grass and having to hand a few places back. Leclerc going off as well. All sorts of kerfuffles going on. I remember back to 2021, I think we had one of the AlphaTauris of Yuki Tsunoda thrown up in the air after contact with Esteban Ocon. Very much a pinch point through 1, and then the chicane of 2 and 3. And you've got to be brave if you're going to make up places. Daniel Ricciardo from the same year clattering into Valtteri Bottas. Numerous flashpoints around this circuit. Ricciardo, Vettel, Verstappen from 16. Hamilton and Rosberg from that race as well. Surely we can add something to the litany of infamous moments here at the Autodromo Hermanos Rodriguez circuit. As I press the wrong button there and head back to our faces rather than the pit lane. And thankfully we didn't miss the start of the race. Otherwise that would have been suboptimal, as the Formula 1 strategists like to call it.
Thank goodness I was decent.
That could have been embarrassing, couldn't it? We'll try and remove that potential image from our brains as we head in. Hope you're ready, everybody.
Let's remove the image of fun racing. That kind of fun. So let's get underway, shall we? Almost set to go. As I try and get everything set here for a fun race coming up in PSGL.
We've had the message as well, by the way.
Epic racing. Oh
yeah.
no.
Had the message that, well, no, it's a positive message that people can start readying up. But that should mean the 5 red lights.
Of course, that's the setups.
The 5 red lights will be coming onto our screens very shortly. Will we see a mix of strategies? Will people forget to apply their setups and leave themselves stuck between a rock and a hard place? Here we go. Hard tyres around there. 5 lights. Who can win the drag race down to turn number 1? Ferrari versus McLaren on the front row. A legendary scrap, and it is lights out. And we are racing in Mexico City. Great start from Dylan Hoglan from P4. Could be challenging. Watch for the slipstreaming down to turn number 1. Leon getting out like a shot as well. And this snags in the papaya. McLaren under significant pressure. Tony Rocher looks to have things covered. But one of the drivers behind is Dylan Hoglan to the inside of turn 1. Gladys Sasojika, but he's disposed of the Haas. And he's disposed of the McLaren as well. And Leon following in the footsteps, trying to muscle his way past Snacks, who drops from 2nd down to 4th, and that is not an ideal start for the Papaya and Chrome car. I think we had a car sideways coming through turns 2 and 3. Leon, great start. Dylan Hoglan got off the grid like an absolute rocket, and there's the championship leader as well from PA. Volokong getting his elbows out, pushing Polly Mackie, who started from 3rd, let's not forget, down into P6 ahead of Otzazito, Dirk and Lawrence, who's also lost places.
A rocket start for Tony Rocher. He seems untenable at this moment, but it is only the first lap. There was a collision I noticed at the turn 6, I believe, was Finley running in the back of Lawrence. Correct me if I'm wrong. Sorry.
I didn't quite catch it, which is slightly frustrating. Volokong and under pressure. Look at that dive down the inside to the stadium section. Lawrence and Dirk getting their elbows out. Going to need some surgery on that one, because that was a big bump and run into turn number 13. Sending it down the inside was Lawrence, trying to nab 8th place off the hands of the Monaco Grand Prix winner. Continuing eyeball to eyeball, banging wheels as we cut the beam to start the 2nd lap. Tony Rocher still comfortable out in front. It's this titanic tussle for 8th, 9th and maybe 10th, because Finlay nipping at the heels of them as well. We are 3 wide, are we? No, Finlay backing out. Lawrence better under braking. Bit of a concertina effect from behind, but it's Lawrence from Dirk, Finlay and then Nico in P11 just outside the points. That got a little bit racy there though in the stadium section.
Yeah, it did. Big gaggle of 7 cars going through the first few corners at the back there. It's got a bit of 2 big pelotons in this field, as we see Nico and Finlay scrapping it out for the last points paying position. Heading into turn 7, and Nico is forced wide.
Given the time of day there on the outside. Finlay making his intentions very plain and obvious, but really struggling for grip on the hard compound tyres through the middle sector. Probably haven't quite fired up as much as he would like, and very much under the cosh coming through on the run down into turn number 12. Remember, this is a DRS straight, but it's not really a regulation overtaking point, and that is why Nico having to just sit and watch and wait in the wings behind the silver arrow. Look at that, Lipox as well, very close to the back of the pink V-carb of Max von der Geest, also on the hard tyres into the stadium sector, but you feel here with the DRS, Finlay could be gobbled up here.
I think so. Nico has a lot of DRS and a lot of charge before the straight, and this was a long straight to defend on. Good luck trying it, Finlay, because he's maybe getting overtaken by 2 cars. Oh, he's completely missed that defense up. He tried to defend the position, but instead he's forced onto the grass, and he's going to have to join, and he's going to get a penalty as well, as he's went across the track too many times. And I don't think Van der Geest will be too happy with that. Oh, and he's collided with Finlay into the corner, has Van der Geest. I think Finlay turned in on him. Van der Geest trying to dive on the inside. Didn't leave enough room, I feel, but he is through, and now he'll be challenging Nico for that 10th place.
Damage though from that blunder, missing the right-hand end plate after he just missed his braking point, slammed into the back of Nico after the Williams disposed of him using the DRS. Whoa, massive tank slapper there. Nico falls off the circuit. Wowee, sheesh, I can't believe he caught that one. Unbelievable car control after losing it in the first place. The rear tyres not going to be particularly pleased after they're not being treated with too much respect there. And look, you can see they're starting to cook because Nico got absolutely no grip coming through the stadium section after he was gobbling up the Mercedes of Finlay on the previous lap, again struggling for traction coming through the Perotada. This should be easy pickings for Max van der Geest, who is just going to pick up a couple of places without too much trouble, and he does fly past, as does the Sauber of Leon, up into 2nd place, pushing Dylan Hogland down into 3rd.
It's just me, or do the cars look like their tyres are not attached to the ground? It just looks like there's an illusion there. It looks like the car is in the air by like a few millimeters and they're not actually touching the ground. How strange. Well, these cars act like they are anyway. And there's a big dive from Lipox heading in, and the Finlay's trying to defend it, and is pushed off the track, barging into the next corner. They both go wide, and that's going to mean that Videk's going to say, cheers, boys, and go into 12th place.
A little bit messy. Finlay defending like his life depends on it there with the front wing damage. I don't think Lepox is going to be particularly enamoured by what he's just seen there. Finlay giving him the cold shoulder, allowing the Aston Martin of Zweig to scamper on through up into position number 12. Still nearly 2 seconds off the back of the duo in front. Tony Roche still comfortable in the lead of this race as Nico is off again through turn 12 this time. That Williams looks an absolute handful. Misses the apex of 13 by a country mile also, and I think it's going to be no time at all before the Aston Martin of Zweig is back on the heels of the driver currently holding position number 11. Great lap from Leon. Took 2nd place and taken half a second as well out of Dylan Hogland's lead. The lead DRS train fairly static behind the top 3. Snack still in P4. Then the championship leader Volokong and holding 5th ahead of Polymaki, Ossazito, Lawrence and Dirk no longer knocking 10 bells out of each other as they were doing on the opening lap of this race. Right at the tail of this lead DRS train from 2nd down into Dirk in 9th. Then it's Max van der Geest in the pink V-carb, 2.2 seconds off the back of them.
By the way, T-Dub, what food should commentators never have at breakfast?
What is it?
Waffle.
Oh yes, classic.
Sorry.
Classic. I do actually have waffles for breakfast. They're
Same.
very nice. They're very, very... Oh, well, maybe that's a bit of an omen for both of us that we talk a little bit too much.
We do. We should just hear these roaring engines or waffles. Or you can hear me recovering from a flu.
Roaring
Or you can
engines,
just hear
roaring lungs that you've got onto yourself there. Struggling with the coughing.
Rude. Anyway, Tony Roche still leads by 1.2 seconds over Leon, who's gained 3 positions. Wow.
It looks quick here though, Leon. Has to be said, taking another decent chunk of time as Nico, unsurprisingly, into the pits for Williams. Those rear tyres look absolutely cooked as he was sliding all over the show. This is probably going to consign him to a 2-stop race. White striped hard compact tyres go on as Finlay battling away with Zweig. Got a bit of front wing damage, almost chops across the nose of the Aston Martin into turn 1. Big lockup as he tried to slam the anchors on, but does get up into P11. Got that 3-second penalty looming over his head as well after his excursion off the road, courtesy of tapping the back of Nico, chipping off part of his front wing, and then taking a trip across the grass. But he has managed to relegate Zweig back down behind him into P12. Lepox is going to be chomping at the bit to try and get ahead of the Aston Martin, with Phil, a very willing spectator on the hard tyres, at the back of this group, but they're now 5 seconds off the back of Dirk, and that DRS train from 2nd tonight could be including the race leader Tony Roche. Finlay with another penalty for exceeding track limits. That takes his total up to 6. That could spiral, could get to 36 seconds worth of penalty. 6 in 6 laps, maybe 36 by the time we get to the final lap of the race. But Tony Richet's been reeled in, everybody. I think Leon is just about going to get the DRS. Can he cling onto the coattails? Well, Tony Richet, bade adieu.
What?
He's jumping into the pits at the end of lap number 6.
That's a shot into the pits after 6 laps. Is he trying to do a 2-stop here?
Definitely a 2-stop race for himself. We said it was going to be a marginal 1-stop/2-stop. We've seen it at Brazil. We've seen it at Austria. We saw it at Silverstone as well. People trying that 2-stop strategy. And I'm surprised that Tony Richet's blinked there. Maybe that was the reason he was just reeled in ever so slightly. His tyres were starting to fall away. Jumps onto the first set of the white striped hard compact tyres. Most drivers you would feel will go for the harder allocation to give themselves 2 sets of these hard tyres to use in the race because the mediums are so terrible. Suede and Lepok's into the pit lane as well. So this is telling us that I think it's definitely going to be a 2-stop race. And once again, F125 is giving us some strategic cars to lay down on the table.
Yeah, which is quite interesting. I didn't expect this from when the game released. But it looks like it is twisting up the race in some way. But we'll see how Leon copes with this. He might come in next lap, you never know. He might try the 1-stop. They're all going close behind, by the way, though. Stats as well.
Leon wide there through turn 12. A couple of drivers have already made that mistake, but clearly pushing very, very hard. Did well to close up to the back of Tony Richet. Will he respond to the punch pulled by the pole sitter? He stays out. I think a lot of this lead train is staying out. Yes, so Tony Richet in a class of 1, if you look at his main rivals in this Grand Prix, he's decided to pit, exit stage left to jump onto a brand new set of tyres. His main rivals continuing to extend this opening stint onwards. That could be a very interesting dynamic as Dylan Hogner gets close up to the back of the Sauber of Leon into the braking zone of turn 1, but not quite close enough to make an ambitious move down the inside.
So, Leon still in net lead as of now. Doesn't seem to be any moves being made at this point. There's going to be a long line of cars. I don't even think anyone wants to try a move because, of course, it's early on in the race, and a lot of the drivers have stocked up their battery and decided not to use much of it. Probably wise to do so.
Lepok's through on Suede, by the way. The Bass for 13th and 14th. They were line astern coming into the pits. It's the Haas that's disposed of the Aston Martin and now has the DRS coming out of turn 3 and into turn 4. And that's a bit of a no, isn't it? Taking the DRS after making the overtake stick. So Suede going to have to sit behind through the middle sector and crucially through the bucket load of dirty air that he's going to experience from turn 7 up to turn 11.
So Dylan is going to have first dibs at Leon here. The DRS on, but I'm not sure if he's going to go for the move. Snat's going to watch on as an interested observer. Head down the stretch. Dylan, in the Japanese feed Red Bull, is deciding to hold back and don't go in either. And we've got a bit of a move from Dirt that would probably could have been on the other Red Bull. Good luck trying to sort them out because, of course, Red Bull needs the car very soon. Nico's left the session.
He has. Not good news. His pace wasn't great, and now the AI driving about 5 seconds a lap slower than he needs. So that is not a very good first quarter of the Mexican Grand Prix. Dirk was punchy there into turn 1, but he had to be because he was under significant pressure from his teammate. Mats van der Geest ducking, weaving all over the back of his teammate there in the battle for 8th and 9th, and I think Dirk had to be brave under brakes and risk almost accidentally sending it on Lawrence in front of him so that his teammate didn't slide past. But just going back to Tony Richet, if you remember back to the very first race of the season in Australia, Tony Richet went for a 2-stop strategy where nobody else did. He came home P5 that day. He wasn't quite as quick relative to the rest of the field as he is here, as Dirk having to go defensive, throwing the defensive shape into 13 because Mats van der Geest again all over the back of him. Well rebuffed by Dirk on this occasion. Mats wasn't quite close enough to make any real impression, but these two RB teams going to continue to tussle and tangle coming out of the Perotada. I think this battle is going to continue down to turn 1. Hold the Tony Richet thought, because both of them have DRS, but it's Mats van der Geest right underneath the rear wing of his teammate, pulling out to the right-hand side as the lead changes hands as well. Dylan Hogland up into first. The RBs swap places as well. Mats van der Geest almost running into the rear of Lawrence. Leon losing the lead of the race also. That's been a couple of laps coming. We've seen that Dylan Hogland's been pretty close on the run into turn number 1. And Leon's got to be careful because Snacks is pretty close as well to the back of the Sauber. But as we can hopefully chill in the middle sector, Tony Richet went for the 2-stop strategy. He's done it a couple of times. It's been unsuccessful. Is this him showing to all of us that maybe tyre wear is a bit of a weakness for himself? Yes, he's got great pace, but he can't make the tyres last like some of his rivals can.
Well, maybe. We'll see what happens in the coming laps, because Leon has been playing it aggressively from the start, from the get-go. But now he's starting to really it's starting to fall back. 7 attempts now. Snats could have a free pass into the second place. The second place at the current point. You see, Snats is really itching to get past, as you see in the fall. So now into the final segment. Can he find a move, or is there going to be something up Leon's sleeve? So let's find out in the stretch we come then. Dylan still leading. He should be leading after this, unless there is some seismic activity by Leon.
Oof.
Do have another move. Actually, no, I believe that's Dirt coming up the pits.
Mats von der Geest has just got past Lawrence. Defensive shape thrown down the straight by Lawrence, but Mats von der Geest wise to it, really far over to the right-hand side as Lawrence went defensive. Nothing he could do as the RB blasted past the Red Bull car, and those hard tyres now on the racing ball, looking very, very tasty indeed for Mats von der Geest in the Miami livery. Look at him so much later under braking than Ossazito in the Ferrari in front. I would not be surprised if this group on the mediums continue to stick it out for another couple of laps. And Mats von der Geest just starts to pick them off one by one. Dirk, by the way, come out of the pits 15 seconds off the back of Tony Richet. That is the power of the undercut, everybody. That is maybe why Tony Richet's gone for this two-stop strategy. The leaders, are they trying to make this one-stop work? We'll have to wait and see.
Well, indeed. So, about to start lap 12 once we come around the fall. So again, I don't think anyone's been considering pit stops yet, but they may have to soon, because we are getting to the point of the halfway point of the race, and of course considering when is the optimum time to pit.
Volokongen in.
And Volokongen is in, so that might be the undercut on, as Fabulous is going to try and get past Oxazito for 5th place.
Easy as you like, as Mats von der Geest picks up another couple of places courtesy of the championship leader diving into the pits for a fresh set of boots. Lawrence into the pit lane as well, so a couple of drivers disembarking from this lead DRS train. He's Polymaki under the cosh ever so slightly, a second and a half away from the leading trio, with Mats von der Geest now sternly examining the rear geometry of that Haas car. I think Mats will be desperate to try and get past if he can into the braking zone of 4. He doesn't want to follow through the middle sector, but he wasn't close enough, didn't have the overspeed really to challenge, but look at how much more grip he's got. Wobble from Polymaki. Do we think about it into turn 6? The answer is still no. Do we try Max Verstappen maybe into turn 7, almost pushing the Haas out of 6, but again on the run into 7, Mats von der Geest not quite close enough and will have to sit behind in the dirty air through this middle sector.
So, half a second separating each of the top 3. And of course the gap now, Boy being left behind by Volkong and Paul Mackie, should be catching up if the top 3 start playing a bit of defence. So we're now coming into the second race, and they're coming in! Dylan Hoagland has pulled the trigger.
Unsurprising, Polymaki in as well, almost dropped it coming out of the final corner. Otsazito carries on to the tune probably of one more lap, and Phil, who's just cruised up to the back of this group, was about 5 seconds behind them at one stage on his set of hard compound tyres, in a really strong spot. There is your pole sitter, Tony Richet, who has done 6 laps on his set of hard compound tyres. Then it is Finlay who pitted early. Dylan Hoagland is exiting the pit lane now, and Tony Richet in 6 laps has got a massive undercut, and Dirk, who came in a couple of laps earlier, has got a big undercut as well, although he might be losing a place courtesy of the championship leader diving down the inside. And it's Volokongen now who is the leader of this secondary chasing peloton. The championship leaders played the strategy card to perfection. 1 lap undercut, getting him ahead of Dylan Hoagland, ahead of Leon, ahead of Snacks, with Dirk now in between them.
The undercut is crucial, boys. Put that in your notebook. Volkongen now leading this group of cars, and it's starting to all get chaotic here. As you can see, Dirk is also ahead of the drivers that have just pit too. But how long that will last, we don't know. Polymaki, with that 1.6 second gap, has fallen behind his teammate Ans Freid, and is now down in 14th net. Not net, 14th at the moment, but pretty much 10th net.
Everything's really closed up, hasn't it, with the different strategy games being played. The gap between Tony Richet and Volokongen, first and second in the championship, other way round of course, is Volokongen leading the way, is about 13 seconds. as Osazito stays out again on his medium. It's going to be passed by the Aston Martin Phil and his teammate down the inside into turn 1. That is the pole sitter and your net race leader, Tony Roche, now battling with the drivers leading the race out on track. All of them yet to pit so far in this Grand Prix. He's going to blast past Phil with the helping hand of DRS as well. Very easy for Tony Roche. He's on 6 lap fresher tyres than these guys battling, but the group behind will also be on 6 lap fresher tyres, except for Volokongen, who's 5, and Dirk, who will be 4 laps fresher than the pole sitter. So this could be a race where Tony Roche will probably pit first again and will be hunted down by that group come the end of the race, unless, of course, those drivers that did pit later are still on the one-stop brigade. It'll be a long stint, 20-plus laps on a set of hard tyres. It's going to be difficult, but not necessarily impossible if you're willing to chance it.
Absolutely not. So we're just seeing a move between the two Hasses. Polimaki getting ahead of Blithawks for 13th at the moment. Gaps are starting to get bigger at the top there, but that's mainly because they probably haven't hit. It's Volokongen that's pretty much leading the way. Ahead of Dirk, Dylan Hogland, Leon, Snatsk as well, are all lining up, seeing if there's any potential moves on the horizon. Coming around to start lap 15 of their race. And Otsuzito is in, so that will push Volokongen and go up to 5th place. And
oh my goodness me, sorry to cut in. Tony Roche, there's the traffic of Nico, who's still not in the session, and the Ferrari nearly slammed into the back of the AI-driven Golf-liveried Williams car.
What?
My goodness. He had to take avoiding action, slam the anchors on, get out of the way. That could have been a race that is looking so good for Tony Roche. Thrown in the bin, nothing down to his own doing. That was a hairy moment.
I thought I gave him an invite. He probably hasn't got it. This might be a problem.
1 minute and 20 seconds off the back of the group behind, and he's just come out of the pits, Nico's AI, to put on 8 lap already used hard compound tyres. So artificial intelligence definitely living up to its name there, as we can see. I think the gap between Tony Roche and Volokongen still just stabilising at around 12 or 13 seconds. They're not taking chunks of time out of the pole sitter. There's not that much difference between the tyres, 5 or so laps between Tony Roche and the group that he's racing. Has got DRS to match Van der Geest, who's still out there on the hard tyres. He started the race on and is currently in the lead of the Grand Prix, but probably not for much longer with Tony Roche cruising up to the back of him.
Yeah, and I have bad news. Finley's about to overtake Nico as well, I believe.
That AI could be problematic, that AI. We've seen it already with Tony Roche.
Higher if there were 2 later, but I'm just on board with it now. No moves I note of going down the stretch behind him. But Finley is past, but now Volokongen and friends are going to have to get past it too.
It'll be sketchy because it's that big train of cars. They've all got to be very careful and aware of the situation, as Lepox with a 3-second penalty. I think he's battling away with Zwade for 12th and 13th. Both of them potentially taking trips off the circuit. Both of them going very slowly as well. I wonder if there's some illegal overtake shenanigans. No, Zwade has left the session. But Lepox is going to have to get past the AI. Interesting goings on there. And look at this. Volokongen bolts behind the Williams of Nico through the S's. Going to get out of the way as the lap car. Will he get out of the way for everybody? That will be... well, we'll have to wait and see. Snacks could be under pressure. Almost runs into the back of him. I think the moving barricade has now been dealt with. But that was, not ideal, as Zwade is back in the session. And Tony Roche will reclaim the lead from Mats Van der Geest.
He will, and Van der Geest will have no choice but to let him go and let him have his cake. But Dylan Hogland right behind Dirk right now. And Dirk right behind Volokongen. Is he sensing a move? Is he? Well, he was, but he decided not to pull the trigger. Stays behind for this lap. He's going to try and go for the next stretch. He's got a lot of momentum heading out of the corner, and he's going to fire up the battery and try and see if he can dive into the inside of turn number 4. Is he going to try it? No, he's not. He's going to have to wait his turn, it seems.
Had to keep his wits about him as well, because Dylan Hogland, look at him right underneath the rear wing of the RB car as well, and it could be from attack to defence in a very short time span for the driver that hasn't scored in any of the last 3 races. His last point scoring finish was a victory at the Monaco Grand Prix, where we were potentially thinking about a Dirk title charge. that has just cooled in the few subsequent races. Gap between Tony Roche and Volokongen still around about 12 seconds, so they're not really making up the time they need, as Tony Roche pulled an absolute masterstroke of a strategy here. Diving into the pits early, he has to make another stop. We need to bear that in mind. These guys may be nursing their tyres to try and get them to the end of the race, or will be revealed in the second half of our Mexican Grand Prix.
So, the second half begins, and looks like Volokongen is going to overtake his teammate, who is yet to pit. And now he's probably going to cause some trouble for the drivers behind. Finley's going to play some defence to keep Dirk and the others at bay. To be fair, these are all SCI drivers, so Dirk won't be too pleased if this is just to prevent him from scoring points, but it looks like he's not phased at all. He's going to make the move and get ahead of Finley. And now this is bad news for Dylan Hoagland behind. He's got a slow Finley who's yet to pit on used hards in his way, in front of him. It looks like he's going to try and get through. No more defense, it seems, from Finley, and he's through. It's not what he would have wanted. Now Leon, whoa! Big problems for Finley. He had a massive slide, and Leon had no choice but to make contact with him. And sorry. And they're side by side heading into the far sole, but Leon through. Oh, he's gone very wide in the corner. Surely that's a warning. Snack, they're trying to get through, and Finley's barging with Snack.
Logan's almost been killed by the dramatic goings on there as Finlay getting bombarded from all angles. Lawrence sticking his nose in there as well. Snacks hasn't managed to dispose. Remember, he started on the front row, is now battling in the lower reaches of the points paying positions. Bolt again, boxed in behind the Mercedes of Finlay. Mercedes versus Red Bull versus McLaren. Lawrence all the way over to the inside going defensive. Polymacky going to file past the Mercedes also, is he? No. Thinking better of it. Finlay so slow at this stage. Lawrence and Snacks have lost a second and a half to the DRS train in front of them. 8th and 9th on the road, but going to have to be battling amongst themselves. I think that'll continue. McLaren in the slipstream, but not close enough. Didn't have the overspeed on the run into 4th. Polymacky finally gets ahead of the ailing Mercedes of Finlay. That was dramatic. Earth to Logan, are you back with us?
Yeah, we're back. Well, somewhat. But yeah, that was not good news for Leon, and Lawrence actually got around fighting with Leon and Snacks as well. So Lawrence making some gains there thanks to Finley's demise, but Finley is now down in 11th. Still not hit either. So is he trying an alternate strategy? It seems. It's like that's going to be the case. It's going to go into the mediums to end. He did start on the mediums, did he? Yes, he did. He's not finished his 19th lap yet, so now he has. So now he's on lap 20 with all the others. Tony Roche, though, still in the lead, as I think Lepox has thrown in the towel. Or has he? Yeah, he's thrown in the towel. He's out of the race.
First retiree of the Mexican Grand Prix, over halfway through, so they've done a pretty decent job, it has to be said. Dirk just trying to cling onto the coattails of Volokongen, but again under significant pressure from Dylan Hoagland and Leon, as just behind you you can see Lawrence and Snacks desperately trying to get back inside the 1 second window of this quartet that's led by the championship leader of Volokongen. You can see there the gap between Tony Roche and Volokongen, 13 seconds. That's the difference they're going to have to make up in the next 16 laps over Tony Roche, whether they go to the end of this race or whether they also go for a 2-stop. It's looking very, very rosy for the Scarlet Ferrari of Tony Roche, it has to be said. 4 seconds nearly clear of Mats von der Geest. Phil also yet to pit. Second and third haven't made their first and what you'd imagine will be only stops in this Mexican Grand Prix. And then it's the chasing pack, and they're not really gaining any time.
They're not. No, they're not. It just seems like it's been fluctuating throughout. And I've got to say, Max and Phil, compared to Finley, they've put up a good show on those 20-lap old hards they started with. And that could be crucial when it does come to pit, which should be a 1-stop, you would imagine. But we've got some battling here, apparently.
Dylan Hoagland has a look down the inside of Dirk. That was late, trying to catch the RB unawares. Dirk was wise to it, just releasing the brake to allow him to carry more speed into turn 1 and not have his pocket pinched by the Red Bull under braking. Closing up to Volokongan as well, who of course doesn't have the DRS. So he's trying the trick again, ducking, weaving is the Red Bull of Dylan Hoglan, trying to spar away with Dirk, looking for any which way that he can try and place the car alongside to give himself a foothold in the battle. But it's Dirk that holds firm in P5 for the time being, does a very good job of just rebuffing that little assault, having his wits about him. Dylan Hoglan just trying to maybe spook Dirk into a little mistake, trying to find a foothold to get himself alongside. Unsuccessful on that attempt, but still doing a very, very stern job in the battle for 5th and 6th with Leon. And then Lawrence and Snacks and Polymaki as well, back in the DRS train that has Volokongan leading it. And I have to agree with you as well on your praise for Mats van der Geest and Phil, as Tony Richet, the race leader, is in for the second and final time in the Mexican Grand Prix. 15 laps on that set of mediums. You would imagine it'll be another 14 laps to the end on that set of hard tyres as well. Correction, hard tyres, middle stint, hard tyres to the end. Now we will see what hand these chasing pack have got. Is it the one-stop strategy or is it the two-stop strategy?
Well, let's find out, shall we? Filtering through on that 22. Hey, that rhymes. Doesn't seem to be any moves again. It is looking like it's a race that's going to come down to the strategies, which one is best. And you could see the top two making up the order. We have seen already. Tony Richet has now pit, and he's now going to try and make his way up the order. His teammate is his first opponent.
100%. Should be arriving on the scene very, very quickly. We saw the power of the undercut in the first stint. Tony Richet managed to gain 15 seconds in 6 laps. And if he continues at that rate, you should be on the tail of the leaders and in fact ahead of them very, very quickly. You can see on the track map coming into the final sector now, Volokongan, the gap between himself and Tony Richet is not that much, maybe 8 seconds or so. Let's have a look. 7 seconds, no, it is 8 seconds, separating 3rd and 11th. Tony Richet, this strategy game, I think he's played it an absolute blinder.
So, he's seeing 14 laps to go, I make it. 14 laps until we have a winner. Van der Geest and Phil up the top there, trying to go the one stop, ending on the medium tyres. Go hanging for safety car perhaps as the drivers do switch positions. 3.5 seconds down the road will be Polymaki, who's fighting off at the back of a train involving Snats, Lawrence, Leon, Dylan, Dirk and Volokongan and Phil as well. They are approaching Phil, and is Phil going to try and be strategic here and try and hold everyone up, perhaps protect his second place at all costs? He's got to be careful. Every time he does that, he's going to do a dent in himself, and he has to pit eventually, of course, to get to pit.
Got himself in a great spot, Phil, though. Same with Mats van der Geest, and if Volokongan downwards are pitting again in this race, Mats van der Geest on this one stop has done a sterling job, as Volokongan is going to ease past Phil with the helping hand of DRS on the run into turn 12. That'll give the Mercedes a bit of breathing space in this final sector. Dirk just looking for a way to try and get past Phil as quickly and efficiently as possible. Bit of a tap at the back as he's desperately trying to say, come on, get on with it. Phil responded by saying, look, I've got no grip left on my hard compound tyres, as the net race leader, or the race leader I should say, Mats van der Geest, into the pits for the first time. Here comes the RB of Dirk flying past as Tony Richet bangs in the fastest lap. Dylan Hoglan, is this his potential opportunity to try and finally get ahead of Dirk? He gets past the Aston Martin. Leon following through also. Dylan Hoglan to the inside. He's brave under brakes. He's not quite close enough. Dirk was late on the brakes as well, so committed with the left foot, but it's not over yet because the Red Bull following incredibly closely through the chicane of turns 2 and 3. Volokongan though is dropping backwards. What's happened? Volokongan I think is disconnected.
Oh no, please do not tell me he's disconnected, not at this stage. It's causing trouble for the drivers in front, including Lawrence, who's trying to get through. He gets through. Has he disconnected?
He must have disconnected. He's so slow. Lawrence is through. The championship leader's got big troubles here. Maybe it's a wheel issue and he's not disconnected, but the wheel's gone.
He's still in the session, so I can't invite him back. It must be a problem on his end. It looks like he's got back up to speed.
He's under pressure. Snacks is going to try and put one over on him into turn number 12. Had a look around the outside behind them. Tony Richey catching very, very quickly, almost pushing Phil into turn 12. Now diving down the inside into the stadium section of turn 13. The pole sitter absolutely on rails here, disposing of the Haas and the Aston Martin. And if these guys are one-stopping, well, they have got a tall order in the remaining 12 laps, because Tony Richey, the pole sitter, the fastest driver out there, has very much arrived on the scene. Battle out in front, continuing on, because Dirk doesn't have the helping hand of the DRS. And finally, Dylan Hoglan, that has been 10 or 15 laps coming, gets ahead of the Monaco Grand Prix winner. Dylan Hoglan now leading this race from Dirk, the championship leader, with that I can only imagine wheel disconnection, bumped down into P5, and there's only one car separating himself and his main championship rival. It might be no cars now, because here comes Tony Richey barreling down the inside. Doesn't even need the braking zone. He's already passed the McLaren of Snacks. And now look at this, the runners and riders in the championship. Volokongen first, Tony Richey second. He thought to bat it into turn 6. Volokongen spooked slightly wide. Look at the grip the Ferrari's got. We're going to be side by side into 7. How aggressive is Volokongen? He is made a little bit of contact, rear right to front left, and for the time being, the championship leader holds on to position number 5. But Tony Richey, he's got so much more pace at this stage. It's only a matter of time. Volokongen has to go defensive. Is it going to mean anything though? Down the inside we go into turn 13. It's the worst camera angle you could ever wish to see, but he muscles his way past Volokongen, and Snacks fancying a run around the outside of the championship leader as well. This could be the worst sequence of 3 or 4 laps that he's ever seen in the PSGL PSF1 series. Muscling his way down the inside, bulldozing his way down the inside goes Snacks, but it's the championship leader with the traction out of the final corner. Tony Richey has checked out in front of them to the tune of a second and a half, and now he's on the back of Lawrence.
And Paulie Mackey's going to try and make a move on Snats, and he's going to do that. Tony Richey already up to 4th. This is all Tony Richey. He cannot lose this race. Surely he's got 11 laps to go. Oh God, this is killing me.
Oh my goodness, he's played the Joker to absolute perfection. He's making fools of everybody else on the grid, because he's got the strategy absolutely spot on. If there was a safety car, it might have been something different, but we haven't seen a safety car. I think we've only seen 2 so far this season, and one of them was in the season opener back in Australia. Might be disabled. That's a very good point. I don't think it would be disabled unless it is a little bit buggy at the moment, safety car. And we do need to remember that fact as well. But Tony Richey is now with the 3 leaders. Dylan Hogland, Dirk, Leon. They've got quite the test on their hands to try and hold off the prancing horse. The Scarlet Ferrari is charging. They're not going to roll out the red carpet. Well, maybe they will, as Dirk takes a trip off the road through turn 13. Into the stadium section we go. Tony Richey closing all the time up to the back of the Sauber of Leon. Ferrari engine car battling with the Ferrari works car, and this should be very, very easy for Tony Richey, with the DRS flaps open for all cars. But Tony Richey's got the overspeed, he's got the slipstream, he's got the tyre advantage, maybe a bit of ERS usage as well. There is absolutely jot that Leon can do, and down the inside the pole sitter up into the podium places.
They're just letting him through, Tony Richey, they are. He's just being unchallenged, making all these moves. They know he's not good enough for Tony Richey's prowess. He's just too good, this Tony Richey gentleman. He might take the championship lead at this point. If Volokongen goes any further down, I don't think he will. But I honestly think that they've got to pit again. I cannot see them getting to the end on these 23 laps. They'll be dead. They really want to win this race. They've got to be goal hanging safety car. Is it getting dark?
No
Are we
chance
getting rain
it's going
at
to
the
rain.
part of the stage?
No shot we're going to have rain at the end of this race. That would be unbelievable.
Really?
If there was any doubt that Tony Richey was going to win, well, maybe it's the weather that could spoil the prancing Ferrari party here in Mexico City, as the fireworks will go off through the stadium section at the end of lap number 36. Dylan Hoglan, your leader, as we start 28. 7/10 clear of Dirk in second, but I think he's going to get gobbled up by the pole sitter. Tony Richey absolutely flying like lightning down the straight we go, and Dirk with no response. And Tony Richey has second place, and the lead once again is within his grasp. This has taken 6 laps to go from P10 up to P2. I think it'll be 7 laps when he gets the lead.
You mentioned lightning, you might get the rain started. Got 9 laps to go. Dylan Hogland is going to be in no man's land here. Tony Richey has holding all the aces as they come around the first arena segment Finley's got the fastest lap on medium tyres. But it looks like Tony Richet is... Was that a... I thought there was a spot on the thing there. Oh, I think I got baited there.
It is getting considerably darker though. And if we do have a sprinkling of rain late on,
Bring the rain dance.
what a finish that could be. I think we're all hoping for it. Less so Tony
I'm
Richet
not.
because he's got this lead well and truly banked. Through the stadium section we go. Dylan Hoglan's going to be a passenger down the start-finish straight because the Ferrari has made them all look like jokers here in Mexico because he has got the strategy absolutely perfect. And with the helping hand of DRS, the 2-stop trumping the 1-stop, as with 7 laps to go, Tony Richet is back up into the lead of this race. He's got much fresher tyres. He now just needs to hope the rain stays away because that is the one variable that could stop him winning this Grand Prix and stop him from going back to back and taking another step towards Volakongen in the championship.
Well, maybe not because he gets to pit first. He has the lead. It'll probably be bad for everyone else behind as well now I think about it. You never know. 8 laps, there is still time for the game to change. But I don't see it happening yet. It is dark, but I don't know if it... I thought that was a thing there. I thought I saw something. I think it's just some dust cooked up from the tyre. Of course, you are going to get the odd particle getting into the onboard camera. Tony Richet now extending his lead. He looks unstoppable right now. Tony Richet, who started this race in the lead, has doubled down on his double stop strategy, and there's no way to go for Dylan Hogland. He's going to have to do anything. All he can do is protect his second position.
100%. That's the best it's going to get. And the only thing is if the rain comes, Tony Richet stays out and everybody else comes into the pits, maybe because he's a little bit tentative. But we see with this strategy, he's the only driver of the leading contenders that's gone for the 2-stop. And it was absolutely the right strategical call. I'm surprised nobody else saw the time he was gaining. They've got engineers, some of them. Surely somebody had to be on the phone saying, look, Tony Richet is going 3 seconds a lap faster. We've got to try this. The battle for the farm spot on the podium rages on as well. Little bit wide there is Dylan Hoglan. I was going to say it's Dirk versus Leon as Leon taps the back of Dirk through turn 5. The Sal was pretty close into the braking zone of 4, tapping the back of Dirk again through 6. A bit of a love tap on the exit. Got to be careful he doesn't fall out of the 1 second window of Dylan Hoglan in front, because then the RB will very much be a sitting duck down the main straight. But I think he should be comfortable enough as Leon 2 gets a face full of dirty air through the middle sector.
Yeah, so 3 seconds to gap now at the top. It's looking very bad for everyone else. Tony Richet, he might be a tough one to beat with the final 4 races. He won't take the lead in the championship. Sorry. Oh, actually, I might be wrong. Let me just double check the standings. He's 16 to Volkan's 5, plus 1 because he's got the pole.
They'll be
Gained
level.
12 points. They are level. And on countback, I do believe Tony Richet will lead because of course he has 2 wins to Volkangen 0.
Wow. What a change that would be.
Obviously for now, yes, but remember Alex Lofer would still be in the lead on 63. They'd be on 61.
But I think
60, sorry, 60.
we can discount any chance of Alex Lofer officially winning this championship now, because I think you'd be hard pressed to think that the top 2 in the championship won't score 3 points in the last 3 races of PSGL PSF1 season 41. Of course, 4 seconds the gap out in front with 5.5 laps to go. That is just going to continue to extend and extend and extend, as Tony Richet is going to have probably the best 7 laps of his entire season and maybe his entire career, because he's got absolutely no pressure on him. He is waltzing away from everybody else in front, as Lawrence is slightly wide there through turn 12. Still very much a lot to play for though. Final 2 spots on the podium. Dylan Hoglan and Dirk occupying them at the moment. Volakongen at one stage was leading this group, but I think a wheel disconnection was what pushed him back down into P5 at the time, down to P6 after Tony Richet absolutely blasted past everybody else. What has the championship leader got in the remaining 5 laps of the Mexican Grand Prix? Can he pull himself back maybe onto the podium? A top 5 I think he would be satisfied with, because it would keep him in the lead of the championship. Championship. Leon, not a particularly good line there through turn 1 as Volokonga taps the back of the Bolt Red Bull of Lawrence. Things just starting to get a little bit messy here in this chasing group behind the runaway leader of Tony Richet.
Yeah, they're all falling out of each other, saying, "Oh, it's your fault that you're not in the lead. It's their fault I'm not in the lead," etc. They're all falling out of each other. They're collapsing as Tony Richet runs away with the checkered flag seemingly in about 5 laps time. But of course, I think it's getting lighter now. I think the rain threat's gone away.
Still looks very threatening, doesn't it? There are some very angry looking clouds off in the distance, but there is just a little bit of blue sky poking through at various stages. But that camera angle we're looking at now on the run up into turn 12, that does look like rain could be on the horizon. Whether it's going to come quickly enough remains to be seen as we go through the stadium section to complete lap 32, with Tony Richet 6.1 seconds clear out in front. And again, Dirk going to be under the cosh a little bit coming out of the Peraltada, because the Sauber of Leon not too far away. I think Leon's got some pretty decent straight line speed as well in that lime green Sauber car. Can he close up? How much ERS has he got? Well, no closing up is going to be done here. It's actually Dirk that's got it covered into turn number 1. Dylan Toglan, Dirk, Leon, Lawrence, Volokong and Polymaki, Snacks, Ottazito and Max von der Geest at the back of this group as well on 9-lap-old medium tyres. Remember, at one stage he was leading the race, stayed out longer than anybody else going for the one-stop strategy. Still an opportunity for the second RB to try and muscle his way through the chasing pack. Oh, he's tapped the back there, the Ferrari of Ottazito. I think Snacks was a little bit wide, a little bit early on the brakes. Ottazito caught out by that, and it almost allowed Max von der Geest to just slip down the inside and take 9th place off the hands of the Ferrari. Snacks, remember, started on the front row. Ottazito was strong in qualifying as well. They've not quite had the race that they would have liked. Ottazito winning in Spain 2 races ago. Didn't finish last time out in Silverstone. It's only going to be a couple of points added to his tally here in Mexico if things stay as they are. Again, looking very, very dark. And Max von der Geest, well, he was much later on the brakes, maybe too late, as he chopped off the apex of turn 12 and picks up a 3-second penalty for his troubles.
Yeah, he's got a 3-second penalty in that. I think he'll be fine though. Fellow's too far behind. He's 16 seconds behind, so he should still finish in the top 10. Yeah, it doesn't look like it's going to rain in time for the race. I see some blue sky now. 3 laps to go. Unfortunately, that means yet another race without the safety car. The next one for mainland are redundant. As Finley also gets a penalty. He'll fall down to 13th, but still wants to go on points on the race. Pretty much the back of the group. If you discount Nico, goes out of the race long ago. He's not rejoining after initially disconnecting. But it is looking like it's a battle for second best here. It's Tony Richet starting to come to the end off the finish line.
100%. He is got the strategy once again, as we've said a number of times, on point. He's made a fool out of everybody else. None of his main rivals going for that 2-stop strategy. And he was brave. He was in the lead. He didn't have to take this chance, but he knew he had his game plan coming in. He said, this is the optimal strategy. And even though I'm in the lead of this race, I'm sticking to my guns, and I know what is going to guarantee me the race victory. And he's probably going to win by maybe even 10 seconds with the amount of time he's gaining lap by lap as these guys struggle to the end. And the question of punctures maybe starts to arise as well. Dirk really struggling, 24 laps on his hard tyres, the oldest of anybody in the field. And that is definitely one we need to keep a watchful eye out for on the penultimate lap of the Mexican Grand Prix. Leon again, though, can't get close enough into turn 1. I think he locks up and he's wide, getting on the marbles as well. And that puts pay to any kind of assault, maybe on the run up into turn 4 to try and nab that final spot on the podium. Lawrence isn't particularly close behind, though, so the Sauber isn't going to be under the blowtorch and under the microscope into the middle sector. The Red Bull might be, though, championship leader. Can he make an impression in these final couple laps, pick up some places that he feels he should probably rightfully still own after that wheel disconnection he had earlier on, but still in position number 6 for the time being.
Still in 6, and Tony's now to 8.5 seconds the gap. We've got a yellow flag.
Oh, it's the lapped car of Nico. Ossazito having to make for the runoff area there as he was bolted to the apex. Max von der Geest flying through as well, and once again we've had the lap car causing a few dramas out there.
Oh boy, I hope they fix this for 2026. Oh wait, there isn't one.
2027.
Yeah.
Fingers crossed we can get it sorted. But Tony Richet starting the final lap, 8.8 seconds clear. Lawrence, has he got the DRS to the group in front? Leon as well trying to get that final spot on the podium. Couple of battles we need to keep our eyes on the final lap of the race. Dylan Hoglan should be comfortable in second. Dirk, I think, has got Leon covered into turn number 1. Yes, he does. Can we say the same for Lawrence? Yes, we can. 0.2 of a second, the margin into turn 1. Or was he sending it down inside to turn number 2? Lawrence was slightly wide. Volokonga saw the smallest of opportunities to try and slip past and get P5. But in the end, he just was a little bit too optimistic. And that means 6th place is probably where he's going to have to settle for. Lawrence slightly wide through 4 and into 5. That's going to compromise his run. Still Leon right in the rear gearbox. There's no front gearbox, to be fair. The gearbox of Dirk through turn 6. Dirk is still going to be feeling the effects of dirty air with Dylan Hoglan only a little in front. And Volokonga's got a problem here. Has his wheel gone again because Polymaki files through? This could be crucial for the championship. It will mean Tony Richet has a points lead after starting 12 points back from Volokonga. And as he's played his trump card, he's made everybody else look like the jokers because he's aced the strategy, he's aced the race, and it is going to be back-to-back wins for Tony Richet. The red carpet was rolled out as he takes the Mexican Grand Prix victory by a country mile ahead of everybody else. Dylan Hoglan will come home for a well-deserved second ahead of Dirk and Leon. Lawrence and Volokonga tumbling. He's going to come home in P9. It might be 8th courtesy of the penalty. No, it's 9th for Volokonga. Wow, wow, wow. 3 podiums in his last 4. But that is the championship lead that he had of 12 points eradicated as Tony Richet played a blinder. And Volokonga will be feeling blind to the elements after that one. Phil will take the final spot in the points. No, he won't. Mats van der Geest will take the final spot in the points with Phil 11th ahead of Finlay, Zwade and Nico, who disconnected early on. But Tony Richet, hats off. He got that absolutely spot on.
You bet your bottom dollar. What a performance from Tony Richet. 2026 IQ to start out 2026. He just seemed untouchable from the get-go. That 2-stop strategy did pay off. I think they're going to have to rework their strategies for the final 3 races because Tony Richet is the new championship leader.
Yes. And that means that Volokonga goes from the hunted to the hunter. And that could be very, very interesting. Race winner and driver of the day, Tony Richet, absolutely deserved that driver of the day. Finlay with the fastest lap, Mats van der Geest most overtakes, and Phil gets the cleanest driver award. But Tony Richet, pole position to race win, and the 2-stop strategy was the right way to go. Dylan Hoglan and Dirk make it a Netherlands 2-3, rounding out the podium ahead of Leon. Dirk good race from P9 on the grid to come home in 3rd. Lawrence in 5th ahead of Snacks, drop back from the front row. Be disappointed with that. Ossazito in 7th ahead of Polymaki. The former, now championship leader Volokonga, at one stage could have been looking at 2nd, but dramas with his equipment, I think, means that he comes home 9th ahead of Mats van der Geest, your last point scorer. Phil and Zwade for the Aston Martins, 11th and 12th. Finlay, and then Nico, who was disconnected for 90% of that race, and Lepox, your one retiree for the Haas team. But wow, 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 a Mexican Grand Prix. We didn't know it, but that has had seismic impacts on the way this championship picture and championship crusade is shaping up.
It's true. So there we go. We have a new championship leader. If we discount Alex Silver, of course, 60 points for 60 points for Tony Richet. Volokonga down on 57, so 3-point gap separating them. Max van der Geest goes up to 37 with just a disappointing 10th place finish there, with that penalty as well. So not what he would have wanted. Dylan Hoglan, who came in... Was it Dylan Hoglan that came 2nd?
Yes, it was.
He goes up to 22 points. Gets himself into the top 10, you'd imagine.
Solid race for himself. Had to bide his time, stuck behind Dirk for so long, and a great podium for Dirk as well. First time he scored points since his win back in Monaco, which was round 4. Nice return to form for the RB car, but I think we're probably now looking at a 2-horse race in the championship. Tony Richet versus Volokonga. And Volokonga was the bridesmaid last season, coming 2nd to his teammate Oscar, the 2 McLaren cars, finishing 1st and 2nd on that one. Had the championship lead by 12 points, but that gap has disappeared and is now in the arrears to the tune of 3 points to Tony Richet with a brilliant win, back to back, of course.
And Dirk goes up to 37, tied with Van der Geest, but ahead on count back into third.
Wow. Big changes in the championship. Drivers struggling for consistency. Volokong has been consistent, but has he had his pocket pinched there with back-to-back victories for Tony Roche? Well, we'll have to wait until next Monday for some more madness here at Premier Sim Gaming League's PSGL Tier 1. We have a look at the calendar to see where we will be heading next week. From Mexico City, we go to the Middle East for the Saudi Arabian Grand Prix at the Jeddah Corniche Circuit. Logan, this is a track for us two personally. Has quite a lot of memories, especially for lap and last corner chaos.
I don't know why they're going to Brazil before Jeddah instead of Jeddah before Brazil. It would make more geographical sense, but you know, it's down to the race organisers, of course. Jeddah, of course, the track. The past 2 races we've done together at this track have ended dramatically, let's say. I do have a clip of both, but I might show them next week, so you know what I mean. This night was about Mexico and the dominance of Tony Roche.
Absolutely. We'll be hoping to continue that and try and continue this golden run, ending 2025 brilliantly, starting 2026 brilliantly, as we will reconvene on the 12th of January in Saudi Arabia. Before we go, remember everybody, linked in the description, check out Sim Racing Setups, the best in the game. Unlock extra performance with their Pro F1 25 car setups, created and developed by the drivers you see competing week in, week out here at PSGL. Esports and stable setups for every single circuit on the game, qualifying and race. Why? That's a mixture of dry and wet. Dry and wet weather setups, optimal race strategies thrown in there as well. Free meta setup updates also if the handling model does get some tweaks throughout the rest of its game cycle. All available for £49.99 over at simracingsetup.com, linked in the description. If you think 27 circuits on this year's game, $49.99 divided by 27, and that is pretty darn good value. Use the code PSGL as well at checkout for a delightful 5% discount. But Logan and everybody that is watching, it is an absolute pleasure once again to bring this incredible series to you. Just 3 rounds remaining in season 41 before we crown our first champion of 2026. And it should be 3 cracking races: Saudi Arabia, Brazil, and then Abu Dhabi to round us off. Before we leave, Logan, where can the lovely people that are still here find you on the old social medias? Maybe to check out those Saudi Arabia clips.
I do believe there was one. I think it was on the Otaku Logan channel. Otaku space Logan. OTAKU Logan, of course.
Spelted it is underneath the very man himself on the screen right now. If you're interested in what I'm doing, wilco.darts or wilco.coms on Twitter. No, not on Twitter, on Instagram and TikTok. But as always, an absolute pleasure to bring this series to you on a Monday evening. We'll be back as we trek across the globe from North America to the Middle East, from Mexico to Saudi Arabia. And it could be another barnstorm, with the championship taking a titanic swing tonight, as Tony Roche was swimming and it was Volokongen sinking with some wheel issues. First and 9th for the main rivals, meaning that a 12-point lead has turned into a 3-point deficit. Will it swing the other way, though, in 7 days' time? We'll have to wait and see. But until then, have a wonderful rest of your week. Enjoy the return of PSGL PC side coming to you on Thursday, of course. And until next Monday, from myself and Logan, we will see you very, very soon.